Today, we're looking at a green ink from Pelikan, their 4001 Brilliant Green. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, there's timestamps down below so that if you're only interested in certain parts, you can skip around. But if you've got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. You can also follow me over on Instagram. And if you're new here and like fountain pen ink reviews, I would invite you to subscribe. In order to make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then put the ink into this Pierre Cardin President with a medium nib. I wrote with it for a day and then used it to take the notes for this video. In order to have some standardization, I always use Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper in the first writing samples, although there is an additional writing sample with different papers later in the video. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in sample form, so it came in a vial like this. And to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. Now the extra fine is darker than the stub. It has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade, 9 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine and darker than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 12 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both shows no color variation, and we didn't get any. Tomoe River. No bleeding, normal Tomoe River ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is slightly darker than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 14 seconds to dry. Medium is quite a bit darker than the extra fine, no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, 19 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show no color variation, because there is none. Rhodia. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 with no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 10 seconds to dry. Medium's darker than the extra fine, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 13 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both shows no color variation, and there was none. I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see this green pushes its way up. It is a single tone of green that pushes up and just gathers at the top. Now the thing is, and I hope that it truly comes through, looking at the very top line, I see hints of a blue there. So it looks like a single tone green and some blue. Now the one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And I'm really believing that that's the same tone of green, just very watered down. It's possible that it's a lighter minty green and a darker green. But I believe that to be the same tone that's just pushed up and being slowly left behind. But I still see those hints of blue at the very top. And I'm just not getting it to come out in the chromatography anywhere but that line across the top. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it performed fantastic. This is a very good ink to use in a note-taking situation if you want to be able to go back and highlight. Now water's lifting all of the darkest tones, but still leaving a lot of green. So if you go to the pen flush, you see that it is completely reactivating, breaking the ink apart, showing a lot of the white of the paper. Pen flush is all you should need to get this out of your pen. The 1/3 bleach solution does completely obliterate it, but you don't need it here. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Now I'm going to link a video where I show how I test it and how I calculate the data. Pelikan 4001's Brilliant Green has a viscosity of 2.75, making it normal. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done on Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. I average those. Now for the inks I've tested, I have found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Pelikan 4001's Brilliant Green has an average dry time of 13 seconds, making it still normal. Instead of finding inks that look like Pelikan 4001's Brilliant Green, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. So I went after a nice orange. I chose Noodler's Summer Tanager. The second writing sample is done on Vinta, black and red, and limon paper. Here we're looking at Vinta notebooks, or hashtag the modern traveler. Does pretty well. The extra fine's very nice, no bleeding ghosting. Same with the medium. We only see a little coming through on a scrubby. Not too bad. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the 1.1 with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 2 seconds to dry. The medium is quite a bit darker with no feather spread, halo sheen or shade, and 3 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby for the extra fine does show some color variation, although we don't get it. The medium shows none and we got none. Just means that you might be able to get some. Black and red. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. Extra fine is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 4 seconds to dry. Medium is quite a bit darker than the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, and 8 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show no color variation, and there is none. And last up, limon paper. Now I have notes in here about bleeding and ghosting. So yes, we do have some bleed spots that are occurring on the medium. It does, in person, create a little more ghosting. I don't think it would stop you from using the back of the page. These spots certainly did not touch the page underneath. Ignore where the scrubby is coming through because I put it down stupid thick. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 5 seconds to dry. Medium, quite a bit darker, no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 8 seconds to dry. Scrubby of the extra fine does show a little bit of color variation, although we got none, and medium shows none, and we got none, and that is all that I have for the writing sample. So what do I think of Pelikan's 4001 Brilliant Green? It can offer some shading every now and then, and when it does, it's very nice looking. Now, the tone on the page is very cool looking, and it is very nice to look at. For a very inexpensive ink, that makes this a good green. So what nib and pen is going to give the best writing experience with this ink? Drier pens are going to give lighter tones in general, and wetter pens are going to give darker tones in general. So it's about what you want. But for me, I prefer a very wet medium to broad with this ink. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time here, I'm going to remind you, if you enjoyed it, subscribe. Thanks for watching.